How we doing, light workers, light warriors, chosen? You know it's your old soul this time. Love spending lots of time alone, the lone wolf, an insatiable appetite for personal and spiritual growth, are highly intuitive and or psychic, innately understanding the spiritual concept. There are deep divers and always seeking the truth, carrying healing energy, an introvert, act from the heart space, feel different or like an outsider, love to be of service, virtuous and moral, authentic and truthful, homesick for the higher realm. You like to dream very big, zero interest in superficial, sensitive and empathic, ageless, childlike, and wise at the same time, highly intelligent. Solutions to the world's problems seem obvious, and you can see into their eyes. Because by now, I'm starting to see more and more that's happening on the earth at this moment in time. As in, like some other videos, talking about the wildfires, the corruption that's going on in the world right now. There's a heaven and an earth, and they're both real, whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you want to believe, whether you want to believe in the higher realm, higher spirit, and God, or you're just lukewarm in it right now, or you blatantly don't want to have anything to do with it. But there's only two sides to the equation in the world right now. You're either with God or you're with the Antichrist. You can call Satan, you can call the devil, you can call Lord, God, the Almighty Source, beyond the higher realm. But there's been a massive spiritual war, and it's really kicked off since 2012. But in the last 15 years, there's been quite a transformation with watching all levels of the corruption that has been going on. And for many, as there's layers and levels, but in Satan's kingdom, it's a pyramid, and there's many steps of levels. Since 2021, when the whole pandemic, people went running the table to put this thingy in their arm, and all the different situations that occurred once that had happened, and how people came out of this, and it started a ripple effect into the world. In the last few years, it's been something else to see how this affected, and how this fellow is pleading the fifth at the moment, just left the world hanging, still with many unanswers, as more and more lines of corruption gets bigger and bigger, and comes with larger outcomes. But for many that got involved in the serum or the shot or the jab, many different words you want to call it, but either way, wasn't something that I was willing to take a chance on my life. And I knew exactly what was going on with it, and it wasn't for anybody, but I understand for some that do, got forced into it, and led down the path, and nobody's faulting for it, but it did do a lot of psychological and health damages and other situations that just caused a bigger reaction in the time that it was going on, because while that was going on, and while people were not there to help others, and like that one fellow who's supposed to be part of the service and the system to help many through the time, it's like dropping the ball, left everybody hanging. And a lot of people want the answers for what happened in that time because it didn't really make sense. And more people woke up with the situation going on and also woke up to other loved ones that were hurt, or, other situations arise. So it's many, many multifaceted of layers of this one topic, that it still needs to be answered. And it's not going to go away until we do get some answers, as the higher will always work away at it. And, you just put it into Christ's hands, and you'll see more and more of, what's to come in the situation. So don't be dismayed that there's nothing that's come about it yet. We've gone this far so long, but, it has done one thing and woken up a lot of people to see what is going on around them and with what has happened with society since 2021. And I know him very well. And he really despises me. And we're in a constant battle and a war all day long. But since 2012, when this really kicked off, what has been going on for the last century, this has been pretty well a prison planet. But in the last many years, things have, progressed in the way that, it's a little bit more fluff and feel good and everything that's going on, just to soften a bit of the blow. But it's got its pros and cons to how this has been. And it keeps everybody kind of in the lukewarm part of it all, and they feel comfortable enough, and they sit there watching that television that plays out on a constant daily. They can't be, told in the way that of their own, feelings and beliefs and everything else. They've got to hear it from somebody, and they got to hear it from a source. And so, I call it the devil's PR, basically. The BBC, CBC, many of these news outlets that have been keeping, the Satan's kingdom running pretty true and strong at this moment in time. Many people, whether you believe in paying the taxes, you don't pay the taxes, or you're taxed out, maxed out, whether you believe that, there's a higher construct in government and other law officials and many layers of municipal and, township, city, all the corporations, the medical system, whether you believe about the squirrely things in the sky that our weather's been messed with, the corruption from money laundering, to how we're handling our streets, to how we're handling the homeless. There is a bigger layer, and it is a pyramid, and there's many layers of this. And it's very thick. And there's been many layers of people that are with God at this moment that have found their rising at different levels and have walked themselves out to the side to look within from the outside at the situation and waking up to a lot of the madness and mess that has happened. And like I said, whether you agree or not, I think most of you can see the breakdown and the constant destruction and the mess, the dumpster fire that's going on in the world today. We've got these fires that are burning out of control all over the world right now. And I've seen it firsthand, and I've been involved inside a fire line and the domination and control over what it does to people in their communities that aren't allowed to help or ain't allowed to do. But before we built these systems, that's what people would do. They would step in and help others, especially in their communities. But now they're getting told to stand down, back away, leave the community, and just let them look after the situation. But there's so many forms of this corruption that's in every one of these systems that's put into with an agenda, and the government is basically a puppeteer, and many of them are puppets. I watched one in the last quite a few years with his fancy socks parading across the stage, frolicking and watching the deception of the money and you know, watching the inflation, watching homes, watching the government talking about laundering money, talking about all the affordable housing and living, the rental, our groceries, our health care. Watch what went on in 2020 and how a situation went from something to something so massive that it shut the world down and put so many people into an apparel. Every year in the summertime, we wake up to forest fires, shortage of water, watching the airspace all day long, getting sprayed, watching the financial corruption and problems with the banking systems, all this digital ID. Let's talk about brain chips. This demonic people that are standing at these levels and these statures that are waving this stuff, and the people that are buying the propaganda. And for many of you, like I said, whether you are in the Bible, whether you believe in the Bible, whether you believe in God or a higher source, when it comes time to your day-to-day life, there's a real spiritual attack and a demonic play at hand that is causing where you sit there silent and quiet over your day-to-day life. If it's trying to figure out how to feed yourselves and your children, keep the roof over your head, keep clothes on your back, you're at a job, the bills stack up, whether you go on the holidays, whether you just are recluse in your home. But I think it's getting to the point in the group that is with God and are in the faith and out there putting the truth out there, because that is the way to the kingdom, is living in the truth and leaving the fear. And even if you got a little bit of fear, that's okay. God doesn't put you in hell. He wants to bring you out of it. But that's your decision if you want to stay in it, or you're taking, the option when there's time. But there's many things that are happening at this moment. I'm watching the spiritual warfare that's happening with many truthers and many people out there right now in the social media world. I'm watching the watered down, dumbed down, and just the blatantly disregard of what comes out on the news that people dial into every single day and believe. Watch the panic and the fear, watch the division, watching the corruption, the divide in communities, watching world leaders going after every single piece of resource. The thing is that they've all got massive statures of money. But the big theft of this is the money that's been squandered with all the people. All your resources that are at your fingertips that are in your world that you're struggling to have the access to, and then you're watching the mishandle and the misappropriate, expropriations, everything from your tariffs to all your taxes and everything, that is keeping a lot of the stuff away. Plus, a lot of the people that are getting lost in the sauce and getting delusional because they live in the fear. It goes back to like the 1940s, in the Nazi war. Well, it was a socialist fascist war. And we're watching it today in the 2.0 world. And it's happening all over again. We've got countries in division. We've got people that are so angry at each other that is causing all these micro little wars. The unconditional and the love, it's not even there. Can't even feel it on the earth at this moment in time right now. But there is so much corruption and there is so much delusion that is going on today. That's all around us right now. And many people are losing a lot of stuff right now. And there's a real take that was in play. These agendas that came up for 2030. You're seeing around the world right now the cost of what homes are. You're seeing the pricing of falling. But at the same time, their places are getting smaller. They're getting cheaper, shabbily built. Our roads. There's people out there making decisions now without letting communities know that they're making these decisions, and they're just putting stuff in. We've got all these bike lanes, we've got all these speed bumps, we've got all these things that, are being put forward without even talking to the communities. It's causing more restrictions. It's causing it harder for places and people to park their cars. It's decisions now that are no longer being made for general people, but you're forced or asked to pay your taxes. Taxes that were supposed to be done in the 1930s was supposed to be a short form. But now they've gotten so extremely high, and it's not just one tax you're paying. You're paying anywhere between 7 to 75 taxes, depending on what that item is. But I'm seeing more and more now with, millions now walking away from a lot. The home doesn't matter anymore. The car doesn't matter anymore. The clothes on your back isn't mattering. Having that television in your living room doesn't matter anymore. If these people really want this stuff this bad, they can have it. But it's when I'm looking at the rest of the world and the balance right now, it is so off to one side. Animals in the forest right now fighting for their lives with people that have got homes. Fires in communities. People being disrupted, rerouted. Water that's being shut off. Communities being told they can't water their fields and their crops. What people can and can't do. Watching the backwards laws that are being brought to light all of a sudden. They wanted all these things, electric bikes and scooters and all this stuff, spent millions of dollars on this stuff, and now they're changing their minds on it. Watching police running around here, not even reassessing, and evaluating situations that are going on, not looking at the real distress of where people are at right now. They're not working for communities. They're not working for the people. They're working for the higher construct of Satan, the devil. Most of these labels, most of the stuff is all basically part of a 33 Masonic, group that's been all over everything, every corporate logo out there today. And all these massive places where all this money's going through, and all this breaking down of jobs, watching, companies buying up companies, well, they're corporations. And they're all by levels of puppets and governments and many others that are, playing in and being good little soldiers in the situation. And we've got to, as a rising church and as the foundation of the earth and what's being robbed away, we have to be more concerned with ourselves and the neighbors and the people around us. But as we keep having this lukewarm and the way things are painted, it's getting more and more people into trouble. Because as we lukewarm one side of it and play it down and don't want to talk, about the Antichrist, you don't want to hear about, you know, who's been running, the world for so long. Well, it's blatantly obvious. We're in the Revelations, we're in the end times. And that's because society has gone completely off kiltered. Lockdown structure and laws that are breaking laws and people that are breaking higher laws against regular people. This concept that they are built doesn't work. And there's people that, since 2020 have got more illness and struggling with more mental, anguish and everything else and many things. And when they're looking for the help's not there anymore. You got to pretty well save yourself at this time. I mentioned one of my other videos about, watch this one incident where an officer basically, I don't know what the whole situation was at that moment in time, that he made a decision to go tase him while he's pumping gas, but, set on fire, but, was still more taking this guy down. But he had burns all over his body. I watched another group with a guy that was upset and supposedly wielding, a knife and had a juice in his hand and stepped into a cruiser. But the situation wasn't looked after properly, and unfortunately, it was devastating. It's been a lot of tools and teaching, but not in the right manner. Schools, these programs have been going on for about 50 years. They have not realized that it was built in a system that didn't work for the regular people, the regular citizen. It was a design for a former of a higher control. Money's money and money's a tool. And I really don't care how many millions you got. It's just going to show the characteristic of who you are. And we're seeing it play out today. But what you're watching is more and more millions of dollars. And every time they scream that they need more affordable housing. Well, the housing basically is not affordable. And ripping down, say, one home and then putting 50 units, on a 10-acre parcel after they've taken out a city block, it should be cheaper. But it's more expensive than what they paid for that house. But most of these places now, there's 4 to 7 million sitting empty. And while they lie and deceive over that, they're going to find people for, to look into money laundering. Well, I'm watching it right at the podium. Been a bank in North America, a banker. It's the World Banker that's operating right now with Orange Man Rad. And it's just bantering back and forth. Watched a family member of the one here, the banker, that just ran the country for the last 11 years. And it's still going on. And these bloodlines and these families. They've done quite some damage. But we're really seeing the fallout now. And where basically the level of the earth is at right now. And so many people are still, leading a blind eye to it all. Don't want to hear it, don't want to see it, don't want to know about it. We keep going around in circles trying to show more and more. More's coming out, but there's still a defiance. But meanwhile, the silence is deafening, and so many that rather just choose to, say, I made my bed, I'll lay in it, I'll buck it up, won't deal with it, don't want to know about it, but you'll suffer in silence. Well, it's not getting any better, and we can agree that it's not going to get any better. This ain't going back to normal, because there was no normal to begin with. It's just that it keeps shaping, and there's a bit of time here where the sun comes out, everything looks a little bit better. And I'm not saying that in your personal life you can't go out and step outside of all this stuff and get outside of it and find yourself and raise your consciousness to make these changes. But inside the system right now, it is still, on fire and blowing apart. And whether it's in the forest on fire or it's basically the pathetic fire, but all I've been hearing is 911. And that's basically because every time there's some kind of event or there's something going on, and it's basically inside the system that is screaming for 911, calling for the help. As this just keeps going on further and further. But more and more people are losing their homes, more and more people are out. Food's getting harder. The manipulation of our food today, clean, pristine, healthy foods that are built or grown and made on the earth. But we have deranged people making up dumb laws that are standing in the way of all of this. We have elites that are causing massive turmoil when it comes time to our fresh foods. And if it doesn't fit in their narrative, they call it. They've been calling a lot of stuff. And now things are more manufactured, more things are processed, more things are, grown in greenhouses. And the thing is that this is so unbalanced now. Our airs are getting sprayed so badly that the food has to be made inside. We don't have our clear blue skies. We don't have our sun shining all the time. We don't have the water for our bodies. We're 90% water. We need the water. That's our cleansing. That's all they want to do is control it. But then I hear all day long about the water, but it's right in front of you. It's right there. But literally, they're just throwing darts to see how many people they can hit and how many they can keep inside the system. Well, the system is failing. And you're seeing it every single day. And now I'm hearing two countries. A man standing on one side of us saying how angry, British Columbia is. And then the other side, they're so angry what's going on the U.S. side. But the problem is that I come back to the two things, and it keeps falling on deaf ears right now. Bottom line is that this is America all around, and God has put on the land as it is. But the deception was that Canaan wanted something, and that is where that sea name comes into, with that red and white flag. And so we've got a division at this moment in time right now. But it's acting more like a separatist. And the funny part of it is that we go back and forth with these tariffs. We go back and forth with the trades, where our foods come from, where our manufacturing comes from. The North American side screams up and down that they've got all the water, they've got all the oil, they've got all the
the wood, all the other stuff. Well, no, they've got it down there too, but that's always the deception, because one side's always telling the other side what they don't have. Then they're getting everybody to look over across the world there in Iran. We've been playing this bread, or this cat and mouse and bread and circus for quite some time, since the 1990s. But the funny part is that, like oil, you got to drill down. It's like water; it perks up. Well, the south of you has water. The north of you has water. That's pretty well the baseline of your oil and water. So it doesn't matter. The Rocky Mountains, the fault line, got trees all the way down. Goes all the way down to California. But we've been playing paper and trade market for so long. We as people here, we pay all the taxes and all the other stuff. That's the internal game. The elites, they play paper trade. And I know I've said this before in a video, it's still falling, and there's so many people that are waiting because they're tired of being separatist. But the thing is that the real deal was done in 2017. And the Antichrist there, he came and took the keys from Canada. It's all under one. But he's just waiting on the decision to be made, because you're both in a massive war over the exact same thing. But right now, there's so much cut off, but then there's so many people that are lost in the sauce right now that got programmed, trained, went to school, got dumbed down. And it's a real confliction. But you're seeing this in the job levels. You're seeing it with people. People going to grocery store, standing there, no help. People have lost their ability to deal with others. Everybody's just, keep your eyes, keep your ears down, stay out of whatever it is. But most people don't want to get into, confronting, because they're going against what this is. But it's causing, red, yellow, green lights to go off on all different levels. So we have to start figuring this out soon, because there ain't too much more time with how this is looking. And watching these last few years, just like I said, with the fires for the moment, I mean, it is, wrecking inhabitable land. Well, these data centers, these AI centers, the minerals, all this other stuff that they keep screaming that they got to go dig up and everything else. Well, yeah, one part of it is job creation. It just keeps it going. But the same, it's just devastating more and more and more land. But meanwhile, many people are leaving the earth, and many things are getting uprooted. And many people are getting, moved around while they try to play all this stuff and dominate. But it wasn't going to be a system where everybody just lived in a city. Many people wanted to live out where it was a little more freer. Well, the cities were never supposed to get this dense either. And they built all this density to make it look so much bigger. And all it is just restriction and confinement that goes on, where nobody can breathe, nobody can move. Our free energy, that's all of us. We're creating the energy on this earth. Because that's where we start at. We are energy. And then our bodies carry that energy. But a lot of people's bodies are getting tired right now. These electric cars were never supposed to come on the earth. All this extra lighting, all this extra stuff that came, it was just another, get away from the oil. But the funny part is that going way back in family relation and everything else, and gas and oil, it's been robbed. They were never supposed to make the billions of dollars off the oil and gas that it has been. So they went in the medical system. But that is a completely another big beast too, and has done so much more damage than good at times. But a world just keeps using this word maintain. You go to the hospital, you're getting maintained. You go to the forest, the fires are getting maintained. Your food's just getting maintained. Any day-to-day life is just maintained. But we can't just maintain anymore. The real life, the, you know, the the experience on the earth is driven a lot that want to go home now. And they're just tired. It didn't need to be like this. Like I said, money is a tool, but when it starts getting mishandled and used for corruption and greed and gain, this is what it's come to. There's still a bit of time to work on yourself and find your stature of faith and consciousness and find your authentic and true self. Get in the heart. But this is only a warning today, but it's going to start ramping up more. And it already is in many, many other areas where people don't see this. And there's many people that are working in all lines to go against this right now. We have to find ourselves. We have to start doing more. We have to get the word out there more about this. And you have to start listening and open up your eyes and hear, because it's very much real and it's happening in front of you, and it's been happening for a very long time. But the excuse that there's nothing we can do about it anymore is not good enough. It doesn't work. And what you're seeing at this moment is more and more just being built just by people that got tons of money, but it's not serving us. We don't need 7,000 McChucks. We don't need 30,000 subways. It's all just basically people getting trapped into systems that are just keeping it going, and half the people are not even eating and drinking the way that they used to be, and they can't afford to. Most people can't even afford to go out for dinners. It's getting more and more costly every time you go out. The gratuities, what it costs for 4 people to go and eat somewhere. But yes, it costs just as much to go to the grocery store too. But half you can't even figure out what to eat anyway, so it winds up happening. But it starts adding up. You fuel to get to work, put the insurances, pay the mortgage. It's all building. But there's a lot of people, like I said, right now in silence. They can't get the jobs. We got corruption at the highest in real estate. We got the corruption in the rental end of it all. We got people that are around the world that have been brought in. We've got analyzers. We've got people that profile people. If you don't fit their stature, you don't get in. Well, this was never designed for this. So many people don't believe that's going on, but it is. People trying to, sell their own stuff, but then people standing in the way of it all. Well, it's not working. So we need to get harder on this and start realizing and understand, for the ones, I get it, that want to stay with that, but it's not a good place. And I understand what your decision is made on it. But that mainstream media and the devil's PR, it's playing loud, and it's screaming what it's doing on a daily basis. Got there out there people talking about the mark of the beast, the brain chips, the digital ID, all the stuff that's going on. It's just a form of control, a Nazi regime like the Red Army. And that's what I've been watching in one country already right now. And in the northern part of America, it's just a red army that's acting the fool at this moment. But it is coming down hard. And they say sometimes with the fight with David and Goliath, you go for the knees, it's going to come down real hard. Just take the warning. We'll be talking a little bit more about this as we go on. To relaxed a little bit, but more people are going to be coming a little bit harder on this now. There's been so much deception with social media and for many people, but this is where the forum was to talk. So many of our group here right now is that they've been demonetized. I was demonetized since 2015 because most people know. But then, eventually they need to know who you are too. So to keep you in the game a bit, but here we are. But there's decisions on you and how you want to go about it. But like I said, there's only two sides. And basically the line will be drawn in the sand. But it already is basically getting to that point there where the division's at. But even the ones there, if you want an earth left, we need to start showing the other people that it's not acceptable to be doing what we're doing to the earth. It's not fair to the animals, it's not fair to the mammals, and it's not fair for the people. It's not good for the children that are up and coming, and for many to come. But there won't be anything left that way if this keeps going on. It'll just be a barren, desolate desert, nothing burger piece of land. And centuries showed that before. Every bit of healing, every bit of wealth, spiritual, mental health, wellness, what's happened on land, it's all in the Ethiopian Bible, and even right down to the Bibles that were cut in half. It's all kinds of love, hate, basically ritual, everything that you can ever think of is all in the book. Is there for a reason. Is there with the truth of everything. And it's even showing, and we're in the times right now, and it's screaming very loud in those books of what's happening right in front of us in this time. So I'll leave that there for food for thought for a bit. And we'll touch more on this at another time. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Share with others. And let's get the numbers up on this channel. There's more to come. More to be aware. Have a blessed, wonderful afternoon. You know I love you, many. Love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.